Welcome to Hi Exclusive right here on Hi TV, your luxury channel. Today I'm speaking to Rocky and Ranga. It sounds like two nice rhyming names. They are the co-founders of Amrak. It is a perfect place for you to get the basic education with an international recognition when it comes to the medical field. Now we are speaking to them because they've been a part of my show, and we have been speaking about how the different avenues of you being involved in this university can help you not only further your education but also give you a full rounded experience to face the corporate or the medical field. Thank you for being on the show, and thank you for being a part of Hi TV. I would like to start off, why create a university that specifically focuses on healthcare only?
Well, predominantly in Sri Lanka, the whole tertiary sector in healthcare has been expanding, and one vertical is in terms of healthcare. End of the day, you can have all the equipment, you can have all the infrastructure, but if you don't have the right people working for you, that whole customer journey won't be intact. And there was a position where we recognize an opportunity where we wanted to develop skilled professionals in this sector, but not only for Sri Lanka but also for the world, because according to the WHO, there's around 15 million jobs required by 2030 in the professions of nursing, cardiac care technicians, skilled theatre workers, to other professions in the allied field. And that's where we decided we should position Sri Lanka as a market and a global player in healthcare to provide good workers, as Sri Lankans are usually very talented, and they're also very warm, and especially in healthcare, empathy is a very important role. And I think that's in our DNA, and that can bring a real change for our youth as well.
Currently, I think you have over 400.
We've got close to over 500 students now.
And they're currently not only learning the roots of the medical science, but they're also learning in a very overall.
That's right. So it's more of a holistic approach that we've taken to how we deliver our courses. It's not just the education side, but it's also the industry placements, the careers. How do we train these students to become well-rounded professionals? And a few things that are interesting with how we deliver, you may or you may not know, Education 4.0 and Industry 4.0, with things like artificial intelligence coming in, a lot of technology being used in the industry. These students need to be well equipped to handle new changes. But how we've gone about it is a little off of the liberal arts curriculum, if you will. We've got a Toastmasters club set up that is mandatory for some of these students to attend. We've got drama and a theatre module that is again mandatory for students to take part in. This, we believe, will help with their communication skills, with their soft skills, critical thinking. But forget that. I mean, Sri Lanka as a whole, since the 1980s, we really haven't changed in terms of our approach to how we skill and upskill the future generations. We always depend on our housemaids and our blue-collar workers, including our construction workers in the Middle East. But we have a lot more to offer the world than just that. And then to my last point, you should probably talk a little bit about how this whole thing started.
Yeah, I was getting there as to why take up this challenge, considering the fact that we have also had a very a negative, what can I say, an approach when it comes to the government sector, saying no to private entities coming and educating people in terms of the medical sector. Why take up this challenge?
Well, I mean, I met Ranga at a coffee shop. Amrak.
Was it a date?
No.
He had come to buy art.
And that's how you all met?
Yeah.
Till then you already know each other?
No, not really.
He knew my brother. Yeah, but no, I didn't know Ranga. And yeah, I just started off with a discussion, and he said he had a little thing to do with Japan. And I said, yeah, come into my office, let's talk about it. And before, when we came into Amrak was more of an office space.
Right.
The whole ambience is very different. And we realized, there's a potential, and why not try it out? So first 2 months, I sat on the academic side, he sat on the ops side, we brainstormed. I created the curriculums. I looked at all the national competency standards in nursing, identified what modules are currently teaching. Then I looked at it at some of the top universities around the world and kind of bridged a nice module which would be for the youth today.
Right.
That's incorporating VR, nursing anatomy learning on VR, scenario-based learning on VR, angling all patient surveillancing, direct patient care, because I'm from a healthcare background, so that domain knowledge is there. And with the combination of Ranga of execution, I think it brought a really good match in terms of how we were able to grow in the last 19 months. That really made us feel good about ourselves as well, because what you're doing is you feel you're impacting, right?
Correct.
You're bringing a change to society, you're bringing a change to education, because there are a lot of education institutes in Sri Lanka. But in the private sector, if you formally build the governance structure, and with the connects of what we've had from the hospital end, we were able to bring in some of the top professors on a Senate level to overlook our academia, to make academic decisions, so it doesn't just come from the managing directors or the people who are running the company. So we formalized a whole ecosystem, I would say, which kind of traject a really good progression for students to study in Sri Lanka.
And this sort of gives them a leverage that they can stand on par with even the international students. Talking about Sri Lanka and where we stand in terms of the take we have towards the medical opportunities here, something that we have noticed is the fact that, you know, we have students who are really book smart and they are quite good in passing exams. But when it comes to even answering a simple question, like if somebody comes, they are empathetic, but they just don't want to express it. Has that been changing now?
So I think what Ranga mentioned about education 4.0, it's industry-based education, but it comes with different learning objectives, right? And as a part of that, we get students to teach other students. So it's a role model play where a student takes in charge of a classroom, they get to speak out, explain a module, explain a certain subject matter, whether it be in anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, or whatever it is. And that really builds the confidence of the students. And one additional thing which we did was we gave opportunities for these students to apply for internships at Durden's. So they get to start doing marketing. Now if you learn marketing, and I know someone like you, if you know the subject of marketing, if you're able to speak and you have that ability to talk over the phone, you start building confidence yourself. And I think all of these areas of how we've learned and how we've adapted ourselves to build good quality resources, it all comes from that whole ecosystem of giving them the opportunities. Most of these kids don't have the opportunities, and they're not leveraged in that position where they're able to speak out. Or, you know, the traditional ways of, I don't know, how we learned was we were never allowed to talk back to a teacher, or we were never allowed to give our opinion if we thought something was wrong. We listen to the book, we read the book, we memorize the book, we sit the exam. And I think with today's transition with education and also with our foreign partners, it's called transnational education, we're looking at collaborative learning, where the students who are studying nursing or biomedical science in our partner university, they collaborate with our students on joint projects. You bring a whole global atmosphere of education, and it also opens the eyes of some of the Sri Lankans who come in here. And I think that is probably one of the things which really change the position of people to be more courageous when they speak.
And it's about the whole curious mindset. You know, if you were to look at world's top innovators, you'd find that they're naturally curious personalities. And in Sri Lanka particularly, amongst our youth, we have a fairly high unemployment rate. We have about 26% unemployment between the ages of 18 through 26. There's about 280,000 students that sit for A-levels, but only 40,000 slots for university entrance. So when you take the dropouts that come out of our O-levels and our A-levels, there's a total addressable target group of about 300 to 350,000 students. And this is youth that is core to this country's future.
And they're also lost in finding the path that sort of suits them. And also, there's also a pinch when it comes to understanding what they're good at, because according to the system, they have failed. We're going to speak more when we do come back, considering the fact that our medical sector is suffering currently with all the economy crisis. We have had a lot of people leaving our country. How can this be resolved in a way in keeping our talent here? We'll speak more when we do come back to this program. We're in conversation about Amrak and what type of services they provide and how you can find your path here. Talking about this drain that we are going through in terms of medical professionals leaving our country, something that I've also noticed is we have a lot of doctors who graduate internationally, nurses who graduate internationally, and they come back to Sri Lanka and then they feel like they cannot pass the exams that they are mandatory, otherwise they do not have the rights to practice here or even recommend medication. Now, this is a problem. It has crippled a lot of people who they have continued leaving our country. How does that work here now? Because it's an international syllabus, but also it's a hybrid syllabus, or the fact that you have merged both these together in giving them a local yet an international education platform. How can the students who leave this go out there and work in a hospital immediately?
So if you look at the nursing school, for example, there are the ecosystem of the nursing school leads you to go into the NHS Royal Wolverhampton Trust, and that's you being a qualified nurse and having at least 2 years of work experience. And through that we do a bridging program which gets you into a 3-year work placement, a free top-up masters with Wolverhampton University, all flights and everything paid for your spouses or your partners, and that's one vertical of getting into the UK. The other one is your top-up degree, which is certified, which the certification comes from Birmingham City University. And then you have the option, if you want to become a European nurse, you need to do your 2+2, where you do 2 years here. So we managed to also keep some of the money not going out of our country, and we also keep that initial level of education also in our country. And in 2 years you do in Cyprus, and you become a registered European nurse, and you're able to work anywhere around Europe. But within that whole ecosystem, it, like you mentioned, it had to become a hybrid because we need to be set with the national competency standards here. Otherwise, we don't get the approval to run a nursing school, especially when you're working, you have to work with the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, and there are certain regulations you need to fulfill. So we need to balance that. And of course, they have their standards. Internationally, there are different standards, but if you merge it, you're able to get the outcome you want. And I think from the nursing school, that's what we've done. And that's something which really builds a really strong edge for the nurses who are graduating from Amrak.
In the past 19 months, Ranga, although it's a fresh take to this, how have the students adapted, and have they checked out other platforms before they came here, and how do they feel? Because this is a very open classroom platform, you all have an interacting section, you all have areas where they can come together and talk, and you know, we don't have those in the local education platforms. How have they adapted to this, the students?
That's right. I think, in fact, we also had yourself come in and speak to our students. But that's the stigma that we want to break off. We want to encourage people, students, to discover themselves and be open about projects other than nursing or biomedical science, or those that they study, the subject matters that they study at Amrak. If there is anything that is beyond that they are passionate about, we need to encourage them to pursue that as well. So with that in mind, we do have a full-time student experience manager who really curates the student community with specific events that are student-based and also Amrak-led events. So things like they're regular the fashion shows or the talent shows that are conducted by the student body, and then Amrak events that are more informational and academic-based. So you're right. I mean, if you were to really go down the whole theory, tunnel vision kind of education, we are not going to be able to achieve the right outcome. So we really try to break off of that.
Now, you have been a part of the medical field for so long. What do you think is a common problem that you face in terms of the staff who are in a medical framework?
Right. So if you're looking at staff in the health sector, of course, they're differentiated into different categories, right? You have your complete high-end professionals who are your doctors, then you have your nursing, then you have your support staff, your technicians, then it goes all the way down to customer care. Even though customer care is not medical related, it's the whole customer journey which is involved
and
with
that
someone.
is sometimes the first point.
Exactly. It's from actually the point of the security.
Yeah.
Walking into a hospital, because you're not coming here for a holiday, right?
Correct.
You're either I mean, we would prefer people to come for preventive,
Yeah.
but it's more curative care you're
Correct.
coming in for, and you're not coming with the most happiest smiles ever when you walk into the hospital. And the level of empathy is very important. And I think one of the hardest things we've faced is, as Sri Lanka, is English, right? So a lot of people say, why don't we do medical tourism? Why don't we get these things done? But the reason why we can't really lead to that level of medical tourism is that whole patient journey experience. And that comes from the fundamentals of people being able to communicate comfortably in English, because the system has been made in that sense where we can't cater to the international markets yet. But however, that is a problem which I have seen, and I think move away from the technical competencies. A lot of the staff are very technical competent in their fields of work. I can't say that there were issues where we don't have competent staff, but everyone is competent. But the really good ones are leaving. If you look at the doctors, the nurses, they're leaving. And also that social stigma of nurse not being a high-end profession in Sri Lanka.
Is also...
It was something, a staggering point to get people to study nursing, right? The traditional way of how a nurse is seen in Sri Lanka is like, it's just a doctor, but a nurse is as important as a doctor.
Of course.
And I think that is something which we're trying to change the perception, get the younger generation to...
And isn't there also a stigma with a man becoming a nurse?
There is.
There
that
is.
is
I
true,
mean,
yeah.
if we speak to I mean, you would probably know this. If you speak to some of our students in the north, in Jaffna, who attend Amrak, sometimes they have this perception that no, they are not supposed to be a male nurse.
They affiliate the word nurse with a female.
That's right. But I mean, that has to change, and that will change, because if you look at nursing in the West or in the UK or in the States or in Canada, it's a highly respected profession. If not back then, now till 2030 and beyond, nursing will be a top profession in high demand for the next foreseeable future. You know, so
yeah. Brilliant. We're going to get into a break. We'll come back and speak more about how you can be a part of this education program when we do. Throughout my endorsements for Amrak, you would have heard me say NCUK multiple times. NCUK, let's speak about that.
Right. So NCUK is basically secondary education, a replacement for your A-levels where you save time, you save money, and you get the best experience you need to get into any top university around the world, whether it's Durham, Bristol, University of Sydney, or RMIT, anywhere across the world, NCUK is recognized, and it's owned by a consortium of universities around in the UK, and it was one of the main partners of Manchester University. So NCUK, and what we do with NCUK is the science side, right? The science foundation. It involves chemistry, biology, physics, and mathematics. And these 4 subjects are curated to be taught in 9 months, whereas our traditional form of how education was, you need to wait 24 months to finish your A-levels. And the youth, the Gen Zs, they want to get out to the market fast, right?
They just don't have time.
Exactly. And at NCUK over here, how we teach is the same mechanisms of how Education 4.0 is, right? We have the best resources. We have the facilities, our lab, our histopathology, molecular lab, skill lab, then the environment of Amrak, integrating with graduate students who are much higher. So you're preparing yourself already for university before going to university. And at the same time, one difference is in NCUK, we prepare them for the industry. Because of our placement partner being at Durns, which is next door, so you have that whole campus feeling. If you're studying into the fields of medical laboratory, or you're studying into the fields of biomedical science, bioengineering, or nursing even, whatever fields or allied fields you decide to go, or even medicine, all of those areas are combined with industry exposure, where you get an internship, where you get to work in the industry. So before you go and start your undergrads, you actually prepare yourself where you know, okay, you know what, this is what I'm going to study and this is what I'm going to do. Whereas what I have seen from my experience with the people who studied with me, a lot of them go abroad, study, they come back, and then they don't end up liking the profession.
Correct. Because here the system is so maybe not in par with what they have studied, and they feel like, what am I doing now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that is something where you can save people's time and money spending on education, so they know. They know, okay, this is the environment I'm going to be working in if I decide to come to Sri Lanka. This is my job role. This is what the scope of the job is. Because you don't learn that before you go to study in uni. No one tells you. No one gives you that guidance, right?
Correct.
Where you know, okay, I'm studying psychology or I'm studying biomedical science. This is going to be the field in Sri Lanka, and this is what my environment is going to be. And I think with the new NC-UK program, a lot of parents are realizing this, that the traditional form of education is changing.
Yeah.
And we have to facilitate that change to save time, to produce good resources for this country and also for the world.
And also, I think more private sectors coming forward and creating this change is going to give that reason for the government sector to change the education and see the modern way of teaching. So it gives our kids in the future an easier access, even through the government sectors. They could learn on the same path. Now, getting into Amrak, what is the process? I'm a parent. I'm at home and I'm just watching this and I'm like, do you like? Okay, let's do this. How does somebody do that?
They can get in touch with us either through our hotline or any of our numbers that are listed on our website. We're also fairly active on all online channels such as TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. We also do take part in a lot of the education exhibitions and fairs. So you will find our staff in and around any of those, any of the major exhibitions. And also, if for those that walk into Durden's Hospital, we are a associate subsidiary partner of the hospital. So anyone walking through the Durden's network, if they were to ask any of their customer relationship officers or any of the sales staff about Amrak, they will be able to help you out as well.
And with the access of about 130 laboratories around the country, that gives direct access also to Amrak, where you can communicate through our partner ecosystem to get an inquiry. And each vertical, I believe, Ranga has a counselor and many more counselors as well, not just one, where they take the student, explain the subjects, explain what's going to be taught, explain what their journey is, what the scope is, and also match that into their industry. So
Correct.
we try to connect that with their jobs in the future. We don't guarantee the jobs, but we do have placement partners, and with the ecosystem, you can end up having a job with us.
And in terms of accessibility, you can just walk in to Amrak.
Yeah.
I mean, we're growing every day. It's exciting for us. But what I would like is to see parents come and explore the facility a little bit, understand what their child is going to be a part of for the next 1 or 3 years. Speak to our academic staff. We have very friendly academic staff that are pretty outgoing, so they would love to have a chat with anyone interested. So
Correct.
please do come in and visit us.
And also, it's a new take, and that's what's beautiful. Would also like to let you know, for us, it's very much relatable, considering the fact that the side where medical professionals, we were really short of them during the time of COVID. And we felt it across the island. We had issues in finding professionals to come and help. Even people who retired had to come back to work. I think we have so much of talent. It's just giving them the right platform, giving them the right education, and giving them the nicer side to it will make them stay in this profession. And I think it's very, very important. Saving lives is not always a fun thing. And when you have the gift in you, I think you should come to the right areas where they can guide you the right way. And I would say, Amrak, as somebody who has no knowledge in medicine, I can tell you, I feel quite safe being here. So do come and explore your opportunities and see how you can either take you or your kids or anybody from your family into a field that is going to be comfortable, very well planned and guided, so that you not only have your footing here, but across the globe as well. Thank you for joining me, and thanks for this coffee date, which has opened great avenues. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Yeah.
thanks.
Lovely.
Brilliant. On that note, we need to wrap things up. Thank you for being a part of another edition to our Hi exclusive. We'll see you soon. Till then, keep smiling.